Crispin's Day Oracle. The Deverean Influence Unmasked. Research by Paul Chambers PhD and edited by Crystal Luther. Produced by Stardust Dragon Productions. March 10, 2024. If you have any questions or would like to sponsor our next Unmasking the Bard episode, please contact us via email to stardustdragonhelp@gmail.com. Bard Unmasked. Application to the Shakespeare authorship question. Bayesian analysis requires a starting point. Multiple contemporary authors list Oxford as the best playwright of the Elizabethan court, especially for comedy. Francis Mears in 1598. Contemporary author George Puttenham wrote in The Art of English Poetry, 1589, and in Her Majesty's time that now is are sprang up another crew of courtly makers, noblemen and gentlemen of Her Majesty's own servants, who have written excellently well, as it would appear if their doings could be found out and made public with the rest, of which number is first that noble gentleman Edward Earl of Oxford. Peacham's The Complete Gentleman, 1622, which not only ranked Oxford as the best poet of the Elizabethan age but failed to even mention William Shakespeare, in the time of our late Queen Elizabeth, which was truly a golden age, for such a world of refined wits and excellent spirits it produced, whose like are hardly to be hoped for, in any succeeding age, above all others, who honoured poesy with their pennies and practice, to omit Her Majesty, who had a singular gift herein, were Edward Earl of Oxford, the Lord Buckhurst, Henry Lord Paget, our Phoenix, the noble Sir Philip Sidney, M. Edward Dyer, M. Edmund Spencer, M. Samuel Daniel, with sundry others. Bard Unmasked. Application to the Shakespeare authorship question. Bayesian analysis has a wide range of applications in various fields. Here are a few examples. Medical diagnosis. Bayesian analysis can be used to calculate the probability that a patient has a particular disease based on their symptoms and medical history. By combining prior knowledge about the prevalence of the disease with new diagnostic test results, Bayesian analysis can provide more accurate and individualized diagnostic probabilities than traditional statistical methods. Finance. Bayesian analysis can be used to make predictions about financial markets, such as stock prices or exchange rates. By incorporating prior beliefs and knowledge about market trends and factors, Bayesian models can provide more accurate and reliable predictions than traditional models that rely solely on historical data. Natural language processing. Bayesian analysis can be used to build models for speech and language processing. By learning the probabilities of different word sequences, Bayesian models can be used for tasks such as language translation, sentiment analysis, and speech recognition. Machine learning. Bayesian analysis can be used in machine learning algorithms to make predictions about data. Bayesian models can be used to learn the underlying probability distribution of the data and make predictions based on that distribution. Bayesian machine learning models are often more robust to overfitting than traditional models. Engineering. Bayesian analysis can be used in engineering applications such as signal processing, control systems, and optimization. By incorporating prior knowledge and constraints into the analysis, Bayesian models can provide more accurate and efficient solutions to engineering problems. Bard Unmasked. Application to the Shakespeare authorship question. Odds ratios. Edward de Vere is 0.9996.0004, or 2,790 times more likely to be the author than Shakespeare. If the Bayesian analysis starts Oxford off at only 1% probability of authorship, Oxford would be 0.998.002, or 546 times more likely to be the author than Shakespeare. Historians are not subject matter experts. In this case, writers are the experts. Machine learning analytics demonstrate a robust and unequivocal relationship between the known writings of Edward de Vere and William Shakespeare. Bayesian analysis is a standard technique currently used in science, engineering, and other critical fields. Multiple independent Bayesian analyses of the Shakespeare authorship question indicate that the Earl of Oxford is orders of magnitude more likely to have written the works of Shakespeare under a pen name than is the man from Stratford. 21st century analytical results converge accurately and precisely with the opinions of subject matter experts, famous writers of the 19th century. The 100 Years' War and the Battle of Agincourt. Henry V is a history play by Edward de Vere, also known as William Shakespeare, that dramatizes the events before and after the Battle of Agincourt, 1415, during the 100 Years' War, in which King Henry V of England defeated the French army. The play was written around 1599, when England was involved in another war with Spain and Ireland, and it was intended to boost the patriotic spirit and morale of the English people. The play portrays Henry as a heroic and virtuous leader, who rallies his troops with inspiring speeches and appeals to God's favor. The play also depicts the French as arrogant and cowardly, and the Irish rebels as traitors and villains. The play was well received by the audiences, who admired Henry's courage and success, and celebrated the glory of England. However, the play also contains some elements of ambiguity and criticism, such as Henry's questionable claim to the French throne, his harsh treatment of the citizens of Harfleur, his execution of the prisoners, and his awareness of his father's guilt in deposing Richard II. Some critics have argued that the play is not a simple propaganda piece, but a complex and nuanced exploration of the moral and political issues of war and kingship. The 100 Years' War and the Battle of Agincourt. The war and the battle had many consequences and effects on both countries, such as the loss of all English-held territory in France except Calais, a high number of casualties among the nobility, particularly in France, a decline in trade, especially English wool and Gascon wine, a great wave of taxes to pay for the war, which contributed to social unrest in both countries. Innovations in forms of tax collection, weapons technology, and international diplomacy. The consolidation of the French monarch's control over all of France. The development of a stronger parliament in England. The disagreement over the conduct of the war and its failure, which fueled the dynastic conflict in England known as the Wars of the Roses. The devastation of French towns and villages by mercenary soldiers between battles. A greater feeling of nationalism among the populations of both countries. The creation of national heroes, notably Henry V in England and Joan of Arc in France. A tangible rivalry between the two nations, which still continues today, seen particularly in sports such as football and rugby. The 100 Years' War and the Battle of Agincourt. The war and the battle also influenced the culture and literature of both countries, such as the development of the English language and literature, as the war encouraged the use of English instead of French as the official language of England. The war also inspired many writers, such as Geoffrey Chaucer, William Langland, and John Gower, who wrote in English and reflected on the social and political issues of their time. The emergence of the French Renaissance, as the war stimulated the growth of humanism, art, and learning in France. The war also inspired many writers, such as Christine de Pizan, François Villon, and Charles d'Orléans, who wrote in French and expressed their views on the war and its aftermath. The popularity of the chivalric romance genre, as the war fostered the idealization of knighthood and courtly love. The war also inspired many works of fiction, such as Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, La Morte d'Arthur, and the Song of Roland, which depicted the heroic deeds and adventures of knights and warriors. The fame of William Shakespeare, as the war provided the material for some of his most celebrated plays, such as Henry V, Richard II, Richard III, and Henry VI. Shakespeare dramatized the events and characters of the war and the battle, and explored the themes of power, ambition, loyalty, and patriotism. Influencing the people. Patriotism, honor, courage, and brotherhood. The themes and motifs of patriotism, honor, courage, and brotherhood are central to the play Henry V by William Shakespeare, which depicts the events and characters of the 100 Years' War and the Battle of Agincourt. King Henry V and his army embody these values and ideals throughout the play, as they face overwhelming odds and achieve a glorious victory against the French. Some of the examples of how these themes and motifs are expressed are: patriotism. King Henry V appeals to the patriotic sentiment of his men by invoking the name and history of England, and by portraying their cause as just and noble. He also contrasts the English spirit with the French arrogance and pride, and urges his men to defend their country and their king. For example, in his famous St. Crispin's Day speech, he says, "This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispin Crispian shall ne'er go by. From this day to the ending of the world. But we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few. We band of brothers, for he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be he ne'er so vile. This day shall gentle his condition. And gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whiles any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's Day." Patriotism, honor, courage, and brotherhood. Honor. King Henry V and his army value honor above all else, and they strive to prove themselves worthy of respect and admiration. They also respect the honor of their enemies, and they do not seek to humiliate or dishonor them. They are willing to risk their lives and sacrifice their comforts for the sake of honor. For example, when King Henry V learns that the French have killed the boys who guarded the luggage, he says, "I was not angry since I came to France until this instant. Take a trumpet, herald, ride thou unto the horsemen on yon hill. If they will fight with us, bid them come down, or void the field, they do offend our sight. If they'll do neither, we will come to them, and make them scur away, as swift as stones enforced from the old Assyrian slings. Besides, we'll cut the throats of those we have, and not a man of them that we shall take shall taste our mercy. And tell them so." Courage. King Henry V and his army show remarkable courage in the face of danger and adversity. They do not fear death or defeat, but rather embrace the challenge and the opportunity to prove themselves. They also inspire courage in each other, and they support and encourage each other. For example, when King Henry V hears that the French outnumber the English by 5-1, he says, "What's he that wishes so? My cousin Westmoreland? No, my fair cousin. If we are marked to die, we are enow to do our country loss, and if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor. God's will. I pray thee, wish not one man more. By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my cost. It yearns me not if men my garments wear. Such outward things dwell not in my desires. But if it be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive." Patriotism, honor, courage, and brotherhood. Brotherhood. King Henry V and his army form a strong bond of brotherhood, based on mutual trust, loyalty, and affection. They share the same hardships, joys, and sorrows, and they treat each other as equals. They also recognize the brotherhood of all humanity, and they show compassion and mercy to their enemies. For example, when King Henry V meets the French herald Montjoy, who asks for permission to bury the dead, he says, "I tell thee truly, herald, I know not if the day be ours or no, for yet a many of your horsemen peer and gallop o'er the field." Montjoy: "The day is yours." King Henry: "Praised be God, and not our strength, for it. What is this castle called that stands hard by?" Montjoy: "They call it Agincourt." King Henry: "Then call we this the field of Agincourt. Fought on the day of Crispin Crispianus. Fluellen. Your grandfather of famous memory, and he please your majesty, and your great-uncle Edward the Black Prince of Wales. As I have read in the chronicles, fought a most brave battle here in France." King Henry: "They did, Fluellen." Fluellen: "Your majesty says very true, if your majesties is remembered of it. The Welshmen did good service in a garden where leeks did grow, wearing leeks in their Monmouth caps, which, your majesty know, to this hour is an honourable badge of the service. And I do believe your majesty takes no scorn to wear the leek upon St. Tavis Day." King Henry: "I wear it for a memorable honour, for I am Welsh, you know, good countrymen." Fluellen: "All the water in Wye cannot wash your majesty's Welsh blood out of your body, I can tell you that. God bless it and preserve it, as long as it pleases his grace, and his majesty too." King Henry: "Thanks, good my countrymen." Fluellen: "By Jeshu, I am your majesty's countryman. I care not who know it. I will confess it to all the world. I need not to be ashamed of your majesty, praised be God, so long as your majesty is an honest man." King Henry: "God keep me so. Our heralds go with him. Bring me just notice of the numbers dead on both our parts. Call yonder fellow hither." The Crispin connection. Saint Crispin and Saint Crispinian. According to one legend, Saint Crispin and Saint Crispinian were able to foresee their own martyrdom and prepared themselves by fasting and praying. According to another legend, Saint Crispin and Saint Crispinian performed a miracle by healing a blind girl named Christina, who was the daughter of the governor who ordered their execution. According to a third legend, Saint Crispin and Saint Crispinian prophesied that their relics would be transferred to Rome by Pope Paschal I, in the 9th century, and that they would be honored by many pilgrims. Saint Crispin and Saint Crispinian. The name Crispin, or its variants, such as Crispian, Crispus, or Crispinus, is derived from the Latin word crispus, meaning curly-haired. The name was popular among the Roman nobility and later among the European aristocracy. Some of the famous people who share the name Crispin are Crispin Glover, an American actor, filmmaker, and author, best known for his roles in Back to the Future, Charlie's Angels, and Alice in Wonderland. Crispin Freeman, an American voice actor, director, and writer, who has voiced characters in anime, video games, and cartoons, such as Alucard in Hellsing, Itachi Uchiha in Naruto, and Winston in Overwatch. Crispin Bonham Carter, an English actor and theatre director, who is a distant cousin of Helena Bonham Carter, and who played Mr. Bingley in the 1995 BBC adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. Saint Crispin and Saint Crispinian. The birthday of Crispin, or the feast day of Saints Crispin and Crispinian, is October 25th. This date is also associated with the Battle of Agincourt, which took place on October 25, 1415, during the 100 Years' War between England and France. Some of the famous people who were born or died on this date are Pablo Picasso, a Spanish painter, sculptor, and co-founder of the Cubist movement, who was born on October 25, 1881. Geoffrey Chaucer, an English poet and author, who is considered the father of English literature, and who died on October 25, 1400. Georges Bizet, a French composer, who wrote the opera Carmen, and who died on October 25, 1875. The Crispin Day Speech, or the St. Crispin's Day Speech, is a famous speech from William Shakespeare's play Henry V, in which King Henry V rallies his army before the Battle of Agincourt. The speech is considered one of the most inspirational and patriotic speeches in English literature, and has been quoted and adapted by many writers, speakers, and leaders. Some of the people who have a connection to the Crispin Day Speech are Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister, who used the phrase Band of Brothers in his speech to the House of Commons on June 18, 1940, to praise the Royal Air Force during the Battle of Britain. John F. Kennedy, the American president, who used the phrase "We Happy Few" in his inaugural address on January 20, 1961, to call for a new era of global cooperation and peace. Kenneth Branagh, an Irish actor and director, who played King Henry V and delivered the Crispin Day Speech in his 1989 film adaptation of Henry V, which won him an Academy Award nomination for Best Director.